In March of 1965, the U.S. Marines became the first combat troops to land in Vietnam. 10 years later, they were the last to leave. Although most U.S. troops left in 1973 due to the Paris Peace Accords, the war still went on for another 2 years. April 29th and April 30th, 2025 marks the 50th anniversary of what was called a modern-day Dunkirk. As South Vietnam fell, Saigon became its evacuation center. Surrounding that city, 14 North Vietnamese Army divisions, nearly 200,000 troops. Operation Frequent Wind was the order to save all remaining Americans, third country nationals, and civilians. It became the largest helicopter evacuation in history. Pilots had to maneuver through enemy fire and horrible weather, including thunderstorms and haze that made visibility at times less than 1 mile. 2 embassy Marines, one from Edgewood ISD and one who lives in Kerrville, shared their stories about the attacks, the rescues, and the ultimate fall of Saigon.
I weighed 115 pounds.
Sopping wet.
Hey, man. I could actually run. Now, here I am, a kid from the West Side, high school education, stationed at the American Embassy in Saigon. To me, that was an honor. Went to school, time to go for me to go to Vietnam. And when I landed, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, what the hell am I doing here? The people weren't too happy to see us there. Back in the 60s, you didn't see homeless people asking for money. And that's the first thing I saw when I landed there. People in crutches, limbs missing, kids by themselves in the street. And the river just smelled horrible. I never forget that smell. Our mission was to take care, of course, the compound and all the diplomats, take care of the ambassador. We protected the embassy 24/7. When I got there and they gave me a tour of the embassy, the compound, and they took me up to the roof, I asked what those holes in the wall were for. And he said the embassy had been attacked by the Viet Cong in 1968. So all the bullet holes were still there.
What's the hardest thing you saw?
A mother coming in, trying to get into the embassy through the front gate with a child, a 1-year-old maybe. I want to say her left arm missing, and I think the bullet grazed her. And you could see the burn, and you could see the cheeks. I mean, she wanted to come in the embassy because she couldn't go anywhere else. She thought that if she came in the embassy, we'd get her help and we'd get her. I couldn't let her in. Couldn't let her in.
I never had any fear, but I was 23, 24, and I was bulletproof. Facts of the matter, we were just young Marine sergeants with an awful lot of responsibility. When we escorted the ambassador, we had like 30 routes, different routes we could take to get someplace. I like being the escort with the ambassador because we keep a circle of safety around him. And if you got within that circle, you had a problem real quick. When something would happen, he couldn't see it. So, like if I was his escort, I'd say, look at that building over there. And he'd turn and look at it for a minute till I'd tell him he could look back. And then the guy over here would be getting the dog beat out of him, because he'd try and get into inside that circle. This is the last message that came out of the embassy, and I got the only copy in the world. It's been a long fight, and we have lost. With receipt, presidential message advising that evacuation of American Embassy Saigon must be completed before 03:45 local time. Took a little longer than that, about another hour. I was in the embassy with the ambassador, I think on the 2nd floor, and the major came down and said, hey, I got an order from the president, we got a book. And I never forget, the ambassador looked at him and said, all in good time, Major, all in good time. We had babies thrown over the wall, just put them on a chopper with somebody. We had a good system there. We had them going up the steps to the top deck for the 46s. We had the 53s would land in the courtyard. We'd load them based on weight. When the chopper would land, we had to hold them on the ground. The backblast and the motors would blow them backwards. And you do that for a couple of times, and then the exhaust would get to you, and you'd go puke for a little bit, get cleared, sinuses cleared up, and then go at it again. When we got to Subic Bay, we had to get in formation on the deck and retrieved all our weapons. And none of them had a uniform because we left with the clothes on our back. And none of them had a regulation weapon. And it was the most scraggly bunch of people you ever seen. But I'd probably say that's the proudest I've ever been. They would have given their lives for that job to complete the mission. People need to know that. You have no idea what it does to our warrior ethos to make us pull away and leave. It just goes against everything we learned in boot camp. But these guys, they would have stayed to the last man and would thought nothing of it.
By the end of April 1975, 71 helicopters flew 682 individual flights, evacuating nearly 1,400 U.S. citizens and 6,000 third country nationals and South Vietnamese. Overall, more than 50,000 people were saved during fixed-wing evacuations, including almost 3,000 orphans. The last Marine to leave the U.S. Embassy was Master Sergeant Juan Jose Valdez, a San Antonio native. Valdez currently lives on the West Coast. If you'd like to learn more about Valdez and those final hours in Vietnam, you can check out this book, Last Men Out, by Bob Drury and Tom Clavin.